And this is something, if you can take this home message, it takes a network to break a network. And we are all a part of this network, because this is going to require us as a community to everybody come together, because it's not us versus them, it is all of us, period. And it'll take all of us to break this network, because it is actually, the stakes are high for us. It's our children. It's all of our children who are at risk. I'm going to talk a little bit about how we can do this, and this is where the public health comes in again. The primary prevention. Primary prevention is that you create an environment where the likelihood of somebody feeling isolated is very, very low. We create an environment where the people start to understand that they are part of the society. So I speak about this experience, and this was in South Windsor a few years ago. I sat down and talked to a bunch of children, Muslim children in our own community. About an hour and a half into the conversation, many of these children who are Muslims, they said they were bullied in our school system. They were called names in the school system, and they were told that they are terrorists, and they were told that they don't belong here, go home. He said they were born and raised here. Which home are they going to go to? So then some of them said, we don't know if we belong here. Now, if you have children growing up like that, then the larger community needs to recognize that's not how you actually build a community. So that's what has a demarginalization is critical. Integration of the community is critical. The larger community has a role, but we also need to have theological counters in place. So you need to educate. Now, what the parents need to do is, all of the parents have a conversation about drugs, alcohol with the children. We need to have a conversation about radicalization with our children and say, you know what, there may be people who will come to these websites, or there will be people who may approach you. This is how it is, because we as a society have to recognize that we have beautiful different paths of getting to the same goal, and does not mean that one path may be superior to the other and then start to hate the others who look or think differently. This is safe spaces for conversation. And again, the rhetoric, I mean, here is an individual who's extremely pluralistic. I turn on the Fox TV, I get very upset. I get very emotional. I say, why are they saying this? This is so inaccurate. And a person who feels, who's immune to anger, who actually takes a lot of abuse in public life, you actually, the people from South Windsor are laughing, but it's the truth. You actually recognize that when you're hearing some of this angry and nasty and wrong things, you get upset. Now, I can take a young child, a male, who's going to hear that, he or she is going to get more upset. The secondary prevention is that if, God forbid, somebody has been indoctrinated, how do you identify them, and how do you actually take care of them? This is where the money is. And this is where the community has to come together. And the community has an extreme responsibility. Of all the different terrorist activities that were prevented in the US, 1/3 of them were identified by the community. Our goal should be that there should never be such activity, but if, God forbid, there is any, 100% of them would be prevented by the community itself. And how do you do as a community? By making sure that we actually look at some of those signs. Community-based, we need to have a comfort level with our law enforcement. The law enforcement's interest is to protect everyone. And their interest is to protect us as well. And that's where this post-9/11 surveillance and mindset and paranoia that has developed, we need to break those barriers as a communities. And that will require the law enforcement to come clean and have conversations, and the community to come clean and have conversations about these things and say, you know what, we are all in this together, and then identify the comfort level. Have those meetings so you're on first name basis with the people, and then have the comfort level and say, you know what, I'm worried about such and such person, I'm a Facebook friend of him, and he's been saying a lot of nasty things. I just want you to have a look at that. And this should be done by the community. Because if you start to do that as law enforcement, then actually that's unconstitutional as well. People have a right to say what they want to. But the community has the right and a responsibility to actually be conscious about some of the things that are out there. And I think that's something we have to do, the rehab programs, the theological counters. The theological counters are critical, and I'm just going to spend a little bit of time on that because that's something that should be critical to learn. Sharing the information, law enforcement agency recommending, and again, deprogramming are going to be the tertiary prevention when the person actually has been identified, recognized, and how do you rehabilitate them. I'm just going to skip this. This is actually, I have a book on the fatwa right over there, which is actually a very comprehensive theological counter. And when I say that these websites that are out there, the people who are saying all these wrong things, they have no legs to stand on. I can actually speak to one of these extremists and tell them literally that they are, in not too many words, they're idiots. I mean, theologically speaking. Theologically speaking. These are the fatwa. And in the Islam, they have been called as Kharijites, the people who don't belong in the faith. And they appear, and this is actually what the Prophet had said, Prophet Muhammad had said 1400 some years ago. He said, there are people who appear religious in action but not in understanding. They're good reciters but poor interpreters. Extreme in rituals, poor in spirituality. So you look at these individuals, they're extremely ritualistic. They're, oh, I'm going to go do pray, I'm going to do this. Spiritually, they don't get it. They don't see the beloved in everybody. And that's such a, it is a psychiatric issue in my mind, even though they're not diagnosed with. They use slogans to appeal common people. They would be young in age. They would be foolish and brainwashed. This was said 1400 years ago, that towards the end of times, there will be these people who are going to act and do these things. They will cause unrest in end of times and cause mischief. They will appear from the east. They will give rise to chaos. And their capital will be Saudi Arabia, at the part of Najd, Riyadh. This was said 1400 years ago, and that's where the theology of Wahhabism is actually starts, in Najd, Saudi Arabia. And that was said 1400 years ago by Prophet, that these people will cause fitna or chaos, and they will come from this part of the world. They will continue to emerge till the last of them comes with Antichrist. They are the most evil of the creation. Their actions will make them exit from the faith. It's obligatory to eliminate and fight them, because these people are not good. They will be young and brainwashed with thick unkept beards from the east. They will wear their lower garments high upon their legs. To your point, they will be extreme in religious matters, but faith will not be visible in their conduct. They will be extremely oppressive, bloodthirsty, and violent, and they will kill Muslims and non-Muslims. Do you know, for every non-Muslim murdered by these people, how many Muslims are murdered? 1 to 8. So they kill more Muslim 8 times than non-Muslims. We are in this together. Don't let Fox TV tell you otherwise. We are in this together, or Rush Limbaugh for that matter. They will kill Muslims and non-Muslims. Fighting them is necessary for the Muslims. And this is the thing, Al-Qaeda and Takfir Muslims, surprisingly study on terrorism. Al-Qaeda kills 8 times more Muslims than non-Muslims. These are the Taliban that we're looking at. Look at their shalwar, or the lower part of their garments, which is higher up. Their beards they're young, and they're bloodthirsty. They would actually say their prayer and then hurt another human being. And then how do you connect and reconcile with that mindset? So again, theological perspective to counter them is, again, you tell them this is what the Prophet has said, that this is what the problems have been. God is gentle and He loves gentleness. That is a part of the faith. There's the sayings of the Prophet and in the Quran. Beware of extremism in religion. Quran is to confirm and enhance the message of Torah and Gospels. This is the verse from the Quran. It's not saying that they are evil or the other people of other faith are evil. It's saying that whatever is being said is a confirmation of what has been said. It's black and white. And the closest and the most affectionate towards the Muslims are those who say we are Christians, because amongst them are priests and monks, because they are not arrogant. Christians and Jews and converts, if they believe in one God, day of judgment, and are righteous, they would have no fear. They would go to heaven. God is only one who can judge humans. This is the Quran saying that. So these people who are so judgmental, you can counter them right from the Quran, and you cannot question the black and white verses of the Quran. If a person forgives and makes peace, his reward rests with God. Behave gently and with humility on the earth. Muslims are instructed to fight for the right of the Christians and the Jews if they are not allowed to go to pray and call on God at the places of worship. It's the verse of the Quran, black and white, that your responsibility is to make sure that the Jews and the Muslims are protected to go and pray at their places of worship. And if somebody stops them from doing so, you stand up and fight for that right. And unfortunately, in the Muslim majority countries, it's the Muslims themselves which are restricting the Christians and the Jews to go in their places of worship. They're going against their own faith because of this mindset that these extremists have called. We sent down Torah containing guidance and light, and the prophets who had submitted themselves gave judgment by it for the Jews, as did their scholars and their rabbis by what they had been allowed to preserve of God's book, to which they were witnesses. We have to believe in the Torah, the message of that. And again, you have to be just. That's critical. I'm going to stop here with this.